للكلام. إذن أترك المنصة لسيادتكم.
الخاصة بالمتحدثين الرئيسيين في المؤتمر. الكينوت سبيكر. المتحدث الأول هو ضيفنا من إحدى الجامعات البولندية، الدكتور البروفيسور دراوس زرايسكي. بروفيسور دراوس زرايسكي هو أحد الأساتذة المعروفين في مجال العلوم المالية والمصرفية. الكلمة أو الورقة اللي راح يلقيها البروفيسور جاءت بعنوان The Role of Financial Stability Restoring Trust in Iraqi Funds. الاستقرار المالي ودوره في إعادة الثقة في المصارف العراقية. طبعا البروفيسور ما موجود معنا ولا موجود اونلاين ايضا، ولكن هناك تسجيل فيديوي راح يعطينا الكلمه من خلاله.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in the conference in Moscow. I had the pleasure of participating in two conferences in April before, and I always have very positive associations with my stay there. High-level presentations, interesting discussions, friendly and extremely hospitable people. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to attend your conference in person, but I'm glad that I will be able to share my reflections remotely. I must stress that I'm not an expert in Iraqi affairs, but I will try to pass on some of my comments and suggestions. Headline defines financial stability using a simple model in which asset prices serve to secure the optimal level of savings and investment. Others, like a microprudential tool, and define financial stability as limiting the risk of significant real output losses associated with episodes of system-wide financial distress. Financial stability is the absence of system-wide episodes in which a financial crisis occurs and is characterized as an economy with low volatility. It also involves financial systems stress resilience, being able to cope with both good and bad times. Financial stability is the aim of most governments and central banks. It is about resilience of financial systems to stress. The goal is not to prevent a crisis or stop bad financial decisions. Its task is to bind the economy together and maintain the smooth operation of the system when such events occur. Various indicators of financial instability are known in theory and practice. A relatively popular and empirically supported indicator of financial instability is excessive credit growth. A well-developing financial sector is likely to grow. However, very rapid growth in lending is one of the most common factors accompanying banks' crisis. Indeed, about 3/4 of credit booms in emerging markets and in banking crisis. The credit growth measure also has advantages and disadvantages. Although it is easy to measure credit growth, it is difficult to assess ex ante whether this growth is excessive. Market volatility is the most commonly used proxy variable for financial markets. Another useful and important characteristics variable is vulnerability to earnings manipulation, which is derived from certain characteristics of information reported in the financial statements of companies that can be indicative of manipulation. It is defined as a percentage of firms listed on the stock exchange that are susceptible to such manipulation. In the US, France, and most other major economies, less than 10% of companies have problems concerning earnings manipulation. In Zimbabwe, in contrast, almost all firms may experience manipulation of their accounting statements. In Turkey, the number is close to 40%. The Iraqi economy can be briefly described as follows. Firstly, it is highly oil-dependent. According to the Iraq Oil Report, Iraq's oil exports fell to 3.31 million barrels per day in September this year. Foreign suppliers in August 2024 now amounted to 3.41 million, which means that Iraq reduced its oil exports by 100,000 barrels per day during 1 month. Iraqi oil revenues fell from 8.49 billion US dollars in August to 7.11 billion US dollars in September. In just 1 month, oil revenues fell by 1.38 billion US dollars. Iraq is one of the countries that regularly fail to meet its quotas for production reductions. Earlier, the Iraqi authorities promised OPEC to reduce oil production by 120,000 barrels per month by September 2025. OPEC, which also monitors the implementation of the agreement on the basis of secondary sources, estimated oil production in Iraq in August at 4.2 million barrels per day. According to the International Monetary Fund, in 2022, crude oil export revenue accounted for around 95% of Iraq's total government revenues. Iraq's net oil revenues rose to 131 billion US dollars in 2022 from 92 billion US dollars in 2021, driven by higher oil prices and increased production. Iraq is one of the most oil-dependent countries in the world. Over the last decade, oil revenues have accounted for more than 99% of exports and 85% of the government's budget and 42% of GDP, all in average. Fiscal sustainability, subject to fluctuation in oil prices, is a second characteristic of Iraqi economy. This excessive dependence on oil exposes the country to macroeconomic volatility, while budget rigidities restrict fiscal space and any opportunity to counter cyclical policy. While Iraq's economic conditions are gradually improving, as international oil markets recover, this recovery is fraught by major risks posed by structural bottlenecks. Risks include public investment management constraints that have impacted public service delivery, the slow clearance of arrears, especially those related to public wages, and large exposure of state-owned banks and the central bank to the sovereign. These fragilities are aggravated by unstable political conditions, a weak healthcare system, and rampant corruption that continue to trigger unrest of the country. The third characteristics, import-dependent for most sectors. The Iraqi economy's overwhelming dependence on oil means that the vast majority of goods, including food, have to be imported from abroad. Maintaining such
الشكر للبروفيسور زايستي على هذه الملفات اللي قدمها. هناك بعض الاشياء اللي اشرناها على هناك بعض الاشياء اللي ترجمناها من خلال العرض البروفيسور. في البدايه ركز على الاستقرار المالي وذكر انه الاستقرار المالي يحد كثيرا من المخاطر التي تواجه البلدان اثناء الازمات الماليه اللي تحصل في البلدان. وذكر انه مساله مهمه بالنسبه للمصارف والبنوك انه واحده من اسباب عدم الاستقرار المالي هو النمو الائتماني المفرط، يعني زياده الاقراض، بحيث انه هو اكثر العوامل المصاحبه للازمات الماليه هي عمليه زياده الاقراض حسب الكلام اللي ذكره البروفيسور. لما جاء اتكلم على الاقتصاد العراقي اشر مجموعه من المؤشرات، قال بشكل مختصر انه اولا الاقتصاد العراقي يعتمد بشكل كبير جدا على النفط والاستدامه الماليه والاستقرار المالي خاضع لتقلبات اسعار النفط. المساله الاخرى هو ان العراق يعتمد بشكل تقريبا شبه كامل على الاستيراد بالنسبه لمعظم القطاعات. هناك تحديات مستمرة تواجه العراق، وحسب كلام البروفيسور انه مثلا الاسواق الغير رسميه وصعوبه الوصول الى الخدمات المصرفيه والهشاشه السياسيه. ذكر نقطه انه ربع سكان العراق هم تحت خط الفقر. النقطه الاخرى اللي اشرها على الاقتصاد العراقي هي ارتفاع معدل البطاله خاصه بين الشباب اللي اعمارهم بين 15 و24 سنه تحديدا. وكذلك اشار انه العراق من ادنى الدول في عائدات الضرائب الحكومية المركزية في العالم كنسبة مئوية من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي. التوصيات اللي طرح 3 توصيات أساسية. أولاً إصدار قوانين مكافحة الفساد وإنفاذها. طبعاً هذه تكون مدعومة بأنشطة وحملات